Hello everyone and welcome to another semi-informative and mildly entertaining, I'm sure, version of Books and Banter, your Medina's library video blog as to what the experts are reading. And that's me. I'm your host, Eric Lucius, coming to you from the stacks here in Medina. A couple books, new ones that are coming out, a couple that I've read recently I want to give you a little review on. First, a couple big events coming up. October 5th is the Storytelling Festival here in Medina. All kinds of professional storytellers coming. It's a great event for the kids, so bring them on out. That's going on in the early morning, late afternoon. You can find all that information on our website. And then the weekend of October 12th and 13th, the Harvest Festival at our Seville Library, part of the larger Medina County Fall Foliage Tour. So they'll have all kinds of fall activities. Again, great for families to get out there. Hopefully we've got some good weather for that. So let's dive right into it. The first book. This is Night Film by Marisha Pessl, I believe is how you say her name. And this has been getting all kinds of great press, great reviews. The publishers from Random House, they were pushing it heavily. Ingram Advance, one of the professional journals we get, right on their cover. So this one has gotten all kinds of good publicity. And I read it, it lived up to its billing. It's not the superstar book that maybe it was made out to be, but a very, very solid good book. It's kind of the hunt for the Cordova. Cordova is this mysterious kind of cult movie maker, very underground. He makes these really dark and disturbing movies that aren't even released in the theaters, and people are watching them in the sewer systems under major cities. I mean, really kind of just a mysterious character. So his daughter commits suicide, and a journalist, McGrath, who's kind of the main character here, he previously tried to do an expose on Cordova, kind of trying to expose kind of the evil side of him. He picks up on the suicide and he goes on to the hunt for why she did it. Along the way, he kind of picks up these two other characters who have their own motives for trying to figure out why his daughter committed suicide. And really, it comes out to be a book about finding out the truth and finding out who Cordova is and what he was doing, what's going on. He lives in this weird compound. He films all of his movies there. I mean, and she does a really great job of establishing this mysterious atmosphere. So again, it comes down to the hunt. Really, the plot is to find out, who this character is. It's not so much that the character's developed. You have to learn about the character as the book goes along. So why'd she do it? Why'd she commit suicide? There's this black magic element. Is that why it happened? There's this cult element. Is that why it happened? Was she depressed? Was she drugged? Was she just disturbed? All these questions, and that's how the book kind of unravels, trying to find out who Cordova is. It's a long book. It clocks in around 600 pages, and it's not a quick read. There are some slower parts you kind of have to slog through a little bit, but there's always a very good payoff. Great pacing for the most part, other than kind of those kind of dull moments. The dialogue is really good. It's just a very interesting plot, and what I really like is what she uses, other than just words on a page. Like this is a screenshot from an internet website. These are interjected throughout the whole story. More screenshots from this kind of underground website that they develop. There's handwritten letters, there's messages, there's all kinds of other things to kind of drive the story. I think if you're a fan of the Justin Cronin series, of his, two books, the third one's coming out sometime in the near future, I think you would enjoy this book. To go back a couple of years, Susanna Clarke's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Very, very well-regarded book because they kind of created this, atmosphere, this own little world that was a little more sci-fi and fantasy, but still, the story was told through a lot of endnotes and footnotes and things like that. So just using a different way of telling the story, and that's what I thought is a really big appeal of this book. It's a mismatch of genres. You really can't put it in one certain category. Lots of crossover appeal for this book. So it's one you're going to have to take time to sit down with, but I think it's really, really well worth your time. Really good book, lives up to the hype. Go ahead and check this one out. Okay, next up. I've got some serious fiction books coming along here. This is Wrath of Angels. This is by John Connolly. It came out I think back in January, and I kind of forgot why I stopped reading his book. When it came out, I think I had it. There's some other books on my list, and I thought, I'll pick this up later. I'll read it some other time. I just really didn't feel like I needed to read it, but I was wrong. If you're not reading John Connolly, I highly suggest you pick this up. The Charlie Parker series, he's a private investigator in northern Maine, lived a very tough life. He witnessed his family was murdered. Kind of there's a revenge element there, and then he's kind of part of something it's supernatural is the best way to explain it. There is a lot of that kind of supernatural element to these books. At the heart of this one, Charlie goes on a mission to find a list of names that were in a plane that crashed a lot of years ago. And the story is, why are these names are important? What's going to happen to those people's names that are on that list? What's happened to them already? It's a mystery, it's thriller, it's horror, it's supernatural, it's a mix match, saying that right, mix match again, that much like Night Film, it works. It just really, really works to throw all those genres together. Great characters. This is what John Conley really does. No characters are wasted. There's no just characters that you read about for 5 pages and they get bumped off in the next chapter or so. All of his characters, you learn their background, you learn their motives. They're integrated in the story. He has a huge cast of characters, which if you haven't read any of the Charlie Parker series, I believe this is at least a dozen, the 12th one in the series, it might be a little bit overwhelming. Not that you have to read them all, but it might be a little bit overwhelming to you're hearing all these characters, because he does develop them so well. It's just they make sense. They're really, really good. Stephen King fans are going to like this. Harlan Coben, Dean Koontz, Michael Conley. I can see lots of people that like those authors that would really, really enjoy this book. And on a side note, there's a great narrator, Jay Snyder, who I've never really listened to before, but he does a wonderful, wonderful job. With both of these wines, because they kind of define both of these books, because they don't really fit into a genre. I have some wines that again are a little bit off the wall that you probably haven't had, that don't really fit into this Chardonnay, Cabernet category. The first one, Mayu, Pedro Jimenez, 2012. Pedro Jimenez is one of those white kind of indigenous grapes to Chile. I believe it's in Spain as well. It's usually in blends. It usually doesn't get its own wine. This is the first one I had. This is really, really good. It's just nice and light. It's refreshing. It's got a lot of zest to it. It's just a really, really nice wine from the Elqui Valley of Chile, which is, again, kind of an odd region. It's not the Maipo, the Mall Valley. It just doesn't really fit into a nice category, but a really, really good wine. Again, to kind of go with those two books because they don't fit into another genre, this is Brandborg Pinot Blanc 2007 from the Umpqua Valley in Oregon. Umpqua Valley, another tiny little niche of the wine world that doesn't get a lot of big publicity. But again, just a nice little white wine. We're coming out of summer. With summer, I like the white wines a little bit more refreshing. We're getting into more Cabernet Merlot season, Shiraz season. But while we're still enjoying this last little bit of summer, go out, check out some of these different kinds of wines. Neither one of these are not the easiest to find, but if you go to a nice wine store, they should have these on their shelves. Both of them were produced in fairly decent quantities, so check those out. Last book, Let Me Go, Chelsea Kane from the Archie Sheridan Gretchen Lowell series. One of my favorite series. I absolutely love them. I do not anymore. This book is just not good. Archie is a Portland, Oregon cop. Gretchen is the beauty killer, a serial killer that Archie was hunting. She gets captured, she escapes, he plays a little cat and mouse game, blah, 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 blah. The series has been going downhill a little bit for me, and now it's just like, it took the Millennium Force plunge just right downhill. It's done. Gretchen shows up eventually in this book, but it's just awkward. It's really over the top gory. It's just a bad entry. It's kind of slow. The supporting characters, especially Susan, who's played she's a journalist, and, kind of a love interest of Archie, has played a huge role in the series, and she just comes across as really whining and just uninteresting, and this damsel in distress. It was just really, really bad. So Archie, he's chasing a serial murder. Is it Gretchen? Is it not? Ooh, what's he going to do? Well, eventually, I just don't care. I have maybe an hour left of this book to go, and I just want it to be done because I have so much better things to read. It's over the top with the violence and the sex in this one. It's some weird cross between 50 Shades of Grey and Jack Reacher. It just does not work. It's like an awful, awful blend it's like if you took the worst grapes that Ohio has to offer, your Concords and your Niagara, and just kind of tossed them together and said, hey, no, this is good. No, it's not. It's not. I don't care how good of a winemaker you are. It's not going to come out very well. The narrator, who is, I don't even have her in front of me. It doesn't matter. Doesn't even do that great of a job. Archie comes across as really wimpy and kind of whining. It's almost grates on your nerves listening to this thing. And just on a side note, Susan's mom is like the '60s hippie character that, you know, and it's just, you know, has that '60s hippie feeling, that life that she's carried over into the modern day. She's going to listen to Jefferson Airplane, not Jefferson Starship. Jefferson Starship was kind of this junky mid-'70s, '80s concoction of what was left of Jefferson Airplane. It's just so unrealistic that no true hippie would listen to Jefferson Starship, I think. I'm pretty sure of that. It's just, yeah. And, you know, the recommendation for this one is nothing. Absolutely nothing, because I wouldn't read the book. If you're going to have a wine with it, I guess take some awful Pinot Grigio that you get for about $3 from Walmart or something like that, maybe. But that's about it. Okay, a couple books of interest that just came out. The first one, Alex, Pierre Lemaitre. I'm sure I'm messing up that name. I believe the author is a European. I want to say French. I'm not 100% sure on that because I have not read this book yet. Great publicity. It was on our Staff Picks Staff Picks newsletter that went out. One of our managers at the Lodi Library read it, really enjoyed it. I believe it was she was the one who read it. Oh no, actually someone from our collections department. In any case, so I already know someone from the library staff has really enjoyed this book. Sounds like maybe a little bit rough book. I mean, just from the jacket cover. Kidnapped, savagely beaten, suspended from the ceiling of an abandoned warehouse in a tiny wooden cage. So if you're a little bit squeamish, maybe stay away from this one. But this is one I'll definitely be checking out. Great press on that one. Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, huge Neil Young fan. Graham Nash Wild Tales, his tell-all autobiography, just came out. From what I've heard, he is, you know, he kind of goes over the top like Chelsea Kane did in Let Me Go here. You know, instead of getting into the music and stuff, it's more of the what happened behind the scenes and, you know, the kind of like the dirty details and things like that. So I'll probably read it. And again, good press, good publicity. Graham Nash, hugely successful, big icon of late '60s, early '70s rock music, Woodstock, all that good stuff. And then the last one, Under a Graveyard Sky, John Ringo. Walking Dead's coming back. This is the latest edition in zombie lit. Great publicity on this. John Ringo, a really well-renowned writer. I've never read any of his books. He writes sci-fi, fantasy, some thriller, mystery type books. But this one is kind of in that zombie genre. And again, looks kind of interesting. So I'll probably check this one out if I have time. So that's it. Thank you for joining us here on Books and Banter. Feel free to email me. We'll put the email link at the bottom of the page. And we'll see you around the stacks.